Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another work mode workout. And today was dynamic effort bench press day. Uh, Stomach's a little bloated today. I'm up a couple of pounds. Part of it's me adjusting to some changes in my diet. It should be gone within a week or two. Just some minor changes happening there, and getting used to some new foods and everything. And the fact that I'm doing a lot of GPP work can also cause some general inflammation. So I don't think I look any fatter per se. In fact, I think things like my back and my legs look a little bigger. So it could also be some extra inflammation, and people need to remember that. A lot of times what you might think of as muscle size is sometimes swelling, sometimes it's inflammation, things like that. And the amount of GPP work that I'm doing is going to affect my overall training just a little bit. Now, the upside to that will be that eventually, as the workloads of that continue to go up, I will start filming a couple of those every week also. So we'll end up getting 6 workouts on camera every week. And even if I scale back the amount of other content I do on the channel, we'll have a lot of stuff going on with my own training. Because truth be told, my other businesses are growing enough that there's going to reach a threshold eventually where I may not be kicking out 3 videos every day, right? Just may not do it. So that happens, though, I will probably do more and more of my own training. Because if we see just what I'm doing here, it doesn't always give the full, complete picture of my training, because some of my hypertrophy is coming from the GPP. Just like today, you're not going to see me do any real chest work because I'm doing a lot of dips. I do dips as conditioning, so it's like I do circuits, and dips are like the 3rd exercise in my circuit after farmer's walks and pull-ups. So there's a lot of chest and even tricep and everything else being involved. Same thing, I don't have a lot of room for delt work because all this pulling and pressing, and then the kettlebell swings are starting to give me fatigued delts. Like I can feel my entire deltoid fatigue from kettlebell swings and stuff, which work all of that. So the conditioning work, as we add volume on that, has its own hypertrophic effect. And it's something that every athlete has to keep in mind. So at the speed bench, what are we doing today? We went to 10 triples. Now after the 5th set, I realized there was some slack in it, and I went over and pulled that green band a hair tighter with the way I looped it under to take some of that out. But right now, for those curious, I'm running very lightweight. This is like 40%, right? This is very, very light, but I'm running 95 pounds of band tension. So 95 pounds of band tension is a fair amount. But notice my bar speeds are better. And if we're getting really good speeds against a lot of band tension, that's what we want for speed work. Plus we get practice setting up. As you guys notice, I'm arching now, going flat foot. I'm getting a lot of practice every week. And so by going to 10 triples with that, that's where my training specificity happens, right? This is where the specificity for the bench press happens. I don't have to train the bench itself for real volume because I'm getting practice with the setup, the tightness, the arch, everything else. So my max effort work on the dozen different lifts I'm going to do will actually carry over. We did the same thing with the squat and hit a 62-pound PR, and it's still going up. So I need to just apply all those same concepts to the bench, and I need to just get thicker in my upper body. Well, adding a lot of body weight movements to my GPP will help that. Because over time, if you're doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dips and pull-ups and kettlebell swings, and if these things give you hypertrophy in your upper body, that's going to improve the bench. So then we focus on max lifts, dynamic lifts, and then, some supplemental work like triceps and everything else, whether it's my band press downs or various JM presses, because the main thing I need to make sure is that my triceps continue to grow. Triceps are going to be critical, so they will always get supplemental work. But I feel like because of the deep stretch on all the dips and me using this arch now, which works my chest more, which actually leaves my chest pretty sore after speed days, so I'm getting a lot of DOMs in it, that should actually handle the chest hypertrophy for now. That'll handle all the thickness I need, so then we get the speed work and the max work, and it covers it. But I do need to make sure I keep beating triceps because my arm development overall is still a weak link. And triceps are the biggest part of the arm, right? Biceps are less important, and it's not like I'm not getting a lot of bicep work. Doing tons and tons of pull-ups every week, they'll get stimulus. And I still do a few band curls here and there. People forget that too. They're thinking I'm not doing any. No, I play around with some band curls sometimes at the end of my GPP stuff or at the end of a session. Because we don't necessarily need all that on film. It's just little small stuff to do one set of band curls just to get a pump or something at the end. So that stuff is in there, and I like to do just general random band work and stuff. But it is important to note that the GPP has its own hypertrophic and conditioning component. And so I don't want people to think that even though I do a lot of work in these 4 workouts, we're at a point now to where it is not everything I do. My general physical preparedness actually exceeds my training volume by a considerable margin, and it will continue to do so. I have my own goals with that, of what sort of numbers I want to eventually reach with it. And when I start filming it, I won't be able to do all that on camera. Those numbers would end up being a 30-minute video. So we're not going to do that. We're going to film, just a nice little segment of it. But pull-ups, 4 sets of 8 with the chains again. Now, this isn't a PR. But I honestly, because I've been doing pull-ups every day, including yesterday, I was surprised I could do any. Because bodyweight pull-ups are really hard when you're doing a lot of volume of them. They start to really accumulate. And because I did some yesterday, I was almost worried, because I did about 30 of them yesterday as far as just my conditioning stuff goes in my circuit training. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to do pull-ups today. But I was able to. I completed all my sets, 4 sets of 8. Using 36 pounds of chain. So since we're using 36 pounds of chain, that's a decent bit of extra resistance added onto my body weight. I stepped on the scale at 220 this morning, for those curious, instead of 218. That's what I mean by up 2 pounds. So I weigh 220, I got on boots, and then 36 pounds of chains. Decent for this rep work. But again, big part of the reason I have a good sized back. Tons and tons and tons of deadlifting, and then me getting good at pull-ups and stuff a couple years ago, and all that helps. Realistically, yeah, I short stroke that first rep. Realistically, though, I would say for most guys, look, I like rows. I think all these exercises have their place. But you can build one heck of a base on your back doing a lot of weighted pull-ups and body weight pull-ups, along with heavy deadlifting. If you do a lot of deadlifting and you do a lot of pull-ups, you're going to have a back. It's going to happen. And we need that back. Back development is critical for overall strength, right? Probably, arguably, the most important muscle group for all around strength. Then I did like 7 sets of these to failure. These are just my band press downs. And a lot of people wonder, well, what's the point of this? What, is this like cables? No, it's way better than cables. Cables cannot compete with this. And it has to do with the fact that we get both the stretch reflex and an overspeed eccentric. And that overspeed eccentric component creates an enormous amount of muscle damage. So this isn't an exercise that I would recommend you come in and do every upper body day or every press day. Be too much. So my next press day, I'll come back around and do JM presses again, right? Because we don't want this sort of overspeed component. But it's speed day. I want to make sure my triceps get a lot of work, even though I'm doing all these dips, and I'm going to keep adding and adding and adding to that. I wanted to make sure my triceps got enough work. And I can say that as far as, again, a unique feel on the triceps, like I said, the skull crushers with chains have a unique feel. These have a unique feel. And the same thing, I experiment with them. A couple of my clients do these. Some of my clients do this stuff. And they all report the same thing. Like the first time you do this exercise, for anyone out there who's joking or laughing and saying, oh, I think that's silly, grab a pair of bands and do a set of these to failure the way I'm doing them. Just one set. And after you do a single set, you'll understand. Right? It's one of those things to where I can describe it, but until you do it, just like I talk about deadlifting against bands, anyone who's never deadlifted against bands might joke and say, oh, 150 pounds of tension plus whatever, that's nothing. Until they realize that a 500-pound deadlifter might actually find 350 pounds of bar plus 150 pounds of band might find it difficult. So it's the same with some of these other exercises. It just has to do with the way bands pull you. Just that overspeed effect that you get when it jerks you back down. It really leaves your triceps just lit up. And this is a complete tricep exercise. We're working all 3 heads. We are getting a stretch reflex. We're getting an overspeed eccentric. Very efficient tricep exercise. But 7 sets of this pretty much to failure in one workout. My triceps are probably, I'm not going to be able to do dips later. It's just not going to be an option. They're not going to be in my rotation for GPP today. But my triceps are finished off. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.